it. It's tier list time. And Dallen, we're going to be tier listing all 32 NFL quarterbacks going into the 2023-2024 season. So let's get into it.
Yep, you can see it on your screen now. This is the tier list of all 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL next season. Mitch and I have to put this together. We have to be in agreement and discuss some of these. And if we, disagree, we'll have to figure out how we do this. But that's it'll be fun. I'm sure we'll have a lot of agreement in here and a little bit of debate, which should be good. But we've got 6 tiers, and we'll read them through if you're not watching live. And this is, another reason why you should be tuning in every Wednesday night when we do the podcast live on YouTube and Twitter. YouTube.com/the Sports Hour Guys. Twitter's at Sports Hour Guys. Join us live so you can be more interactive and see the stuff we're doing on video, which is a lot of fun. But we'll describe it for you on the podcast feed. The 6 tiers we have, starting with the S tier, that's the GOAT tier. The A tier is the elite quarterback tier. The B tier is can get you into the playoffs. The C tier is the Mid-City Mids featuring Mitty Mitterson, the mid quarterbacks. The D tier is TBD. Maybe we need a little more information on these guys. And the F tier is what the hell are you doing? This is garbage. This is the garbage tier. No excuses there. The F tier. So that's what we got, Mitch. Let's jump into this and let's go division by division here. And let's start maybe in the NFC. We always start in the AFC on stuff.
Yeah, let's start in the NFC.
Let's start in your NFC North, Mitch.
Oh, boy.
Let's start in your NFC North. And let's start with Kirk Cousins. We got Kirk Cousins here. I'll drag him up. I'm just going to put him in the C for now. That's not where he has to be. But let's discuss where we feel like Kirk Cousins. I feel like most people generally see him as a C tier quarterback. I generally tend to think he's more of like a B tier. It's good enough to get you there, but he's not elite by any means. He's not really pushing that. At worst, he's a C tier. At his best, he's a B. I feel good about him in the B tier. I don't know what you're thinking.
See, and I feel like that my range of ceiling and floor is a little bit wider than everyone else's when it comes to Kirk Cousins, because I feel like that he could be as like the lowest of the C tier, but at his highest, he could be the highest of the B tier, which would be like NFC title game. So I feel like that B is the correct ranking for him, and I feel like that kind of that mid-range B, like he could get you to a title game. He could. He puts up the numbers. He's talented enough. I feel like he gets more flack than he should, but I think Kirk Cousins in the B tier is about right where he needs to be.
Okay, we're 1 for 1 so far. This is going to be so easy. All right, next up, Mitch, Jordan Love. This is a guy we know nothing about as an NFL starting quarterback, taking over for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and obviously there's a lot of questions there. This one probably has got to be the TBD tier, right? Just because there's still so much unknown. Despite him being a 3-year NFL player, there's still so much unknown about him.
Yeah, but I haven't been impressed with what we've seen out of him as an NFL quarterback. So, it
was like one game.
Okay, so let me get to it. Dallen. Okay. Right. Oh boy, we're getting spicy already. Yes, TBD is the right place to put him because we have to see more. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
I won't get spicy. I won't get spicy too early.
Save a little bit of it. All right, Mitch. Let's go with your guy. Your quarterback here, Justin Fields, quarterback for the Chicago Bears. I think this one's kind of interesting, right? Still a young quarterback. It's a lot to prove. Still a lot we don't know. But we do have 2 years of tape of starting experience for Justin Fields, and it has been a mixed bag. It hasn't been great. Now, the situation around him hasn't been great. He's shown the running ability, obviously, is there. The passing ability still, a work in progress. I feel okay throwing him in the TBD, and that's not because he's a D-tier quarterback, but just because I still feel like even without even with all the snaps he's taken, there's still so much we don't know about him because of the situation around him and all the other factors that go into it.
So this is one of those guys with a high range of possibilities, I think, for me, right? But I feel the same way you do, just in the inverse. I feel like he's B-worthy tier.
Wow.
I feel like he is. And
wow.
It's because we've seen physical and hang with me. We've seen physically what he can do. We know what he's capable of doing when he's given the right protection. He has a weapon to throw to. He has the offense around him to do those things, right? When Chicago's lackluster, completely pathetic offense was totally clicking, we saw what Justin Fields was completely capable of doing. Now add DJ Moore, add whatever running back they're going to add into it, and you build around Justin Fields. This is a guy that is probably on the lower end of the B tier for me. I'm not saying he's up there with Kirk Cousins. You know, he's not a guy that can lock you into the playoffs, but he's a guy that can do it because of his skill set and because what he brings to the table. So he's somewhere in that B to C range. So I would say upper C, lower B for me. But
yeah, I can't get on board with. I just feel like at the end of the day, we're going to have a lot of players in that B tier, and Justin Fields is going to stand out like a sore thumb as a guy who just really hasn't proven much. And I think the potential is, I'm with you on the potential of him being a B tier. And maybe by the end of the 2023 season, we can say, you know, the way that like a Trevor Lawrence made the leap last year, right? And, you know, he'll probably be in that B tier range, you know, like the way that he made that leap last year. I think maybe at the end of the season, we can say Fields proved that all that potential was there. But to me, it's all still potential. I don't think there's been much that's proven yet. And I don't think a lot of it's his fault. A lot of it's just situation. You know, this was the team with the worst record in the NFL last year. Right, and it's not because of Justin Fields. You know, it's a lot of what's around him. So I'm cool if we want to throw him in the C tier. Because again, 2 years of experience, we have seen stuff from him. He doesn't qualify for the TBD in a way that Jordan Love or maybe some of the rookies will. So I can compromise on C tier.
Okay. All right. I'll compromise on C tier. I'll compromise.
Okay. He has a 5-20 record as a starter, Mitch. I just don't know if we could throw that guy in the B tier.
That's not all his fault, though. That's not all his fault.
It isn't, but
that's hardly his fault.
It's a hard place to put ourselves. All right, who are we missing here?
We're gonna go with the Lions. Jared Goff.
Yes.
Oh, okay. C tier.
Yeah, I mean Jared Goff is the C tier of C tier. I mean,
he's is he the poster child of C tiers?
Could he be the very bottom of the B tier? Like good enough to get you to the playoffs? Because he did that with the Rams right early in his career, and last year he led the Lions to a 9-win record and they barely missed out, and we think they're going to be right there again this year. So, you know, I don't know.
So that's where I'm like with he's the poster child of the C tier is like, yeah, he's mid, right? He's like the 15th best quarterback in the league, but can he get you to the playoffs?
Could he be a little better? Right.
Technically he could.
Yeah,
technically he could, but he could also ruin a season for you.
Yeah.
So like, That's where fair. He's like the poster child for the C. So
love it.
I feel like Jared Goff is perfect in the C tier.
Okay. I'm with you there. Mitch. Let's jump to the NFC South. And let's start with my Panthers new starting quarterback, Bryce Young. And I'll throw him right there into the D tier just because, again, he hasn't played a snap yet. Love the potential. Yeah. We got to see things. There's going to be quite a few quarterbacks in this D tier, which I think just kind of shows how exciting the future of the position is in the NFL right now. I mean, obviously you have the Mahomes and the Allens and the Burrows and these guys at top, but we're getting a big crop from the 2021 draft, the Fields and the Lawrence draft into this draft with, three of the top 4 picks at quarterback. Seems like we're getting a lot of good young talent in the NFL, and that's going to be exciting to see in a few years.
And I'll dub it right now. We are in the great quarterback reset. That's what we're going to call this.
Yeah.
Like we are resetting back to youth, and we're going to have a lot of young, youthful quarterbacks like we did in that like 03, 04, 05 type of range where we had
now
a lot
those guys
of
are gone,
really,
but
now those guys are gone, but we're kind of resetting back into that era.
Right.
So,
love it.
A decent, TBD. We got to see what CJ Stroud is going to do.
Bryce Young. Bryce Young.
Oh, you picked Bryce Young. Sorry.
NFC South. Yes.
NFC South. Sorry, my bad. Yeah.
That's not the alternate universe where my Panthers
South.
took CJ Stroud number one.
I thought you said AFC South. Yeah.
No, you're good.
No, Bryce Young. Yeah.
All right. Let us go to the Falcons. We've got Desmond Ridder, who will be the starter for the Falcons. I feel like he's got to be TBD too, right? I mean, we saw some from him last year as a rookie, but obviously they had a lot of Marcus Mariota, especially early in the season last year. Only appeared in 4 games last year, Desmond Ridder, and they are giving him the job. But this is, I'm glad Atlanta's doing this, by the way. I'm glad Atlanta is giving him the chance. Let's see what we got out of this 3rd round pick. You know, if he turns out this year, fantastic. If he doesn't, well, we know we got to go get that guy in the draft next year. And, well, it turns out there's a lot of talent in the draft next year you could potentially go get. So I like the idea of Atlanta giving Ridder the shot. He's got a ton of talent around him. Let's see what you can really do, and we're going to know by the end of this year whether we can move forward with you or we really got to go after a top prospect. But I think he's D tier. 4 games is not enough to know what he is.
Yeah, we can't call him trash just yet. We can't.
Not yet. That'd just be mean.
Right.
It'd be like bullying.
Yeah. So D tier. D tier's it.
All right. New Orleans Saints, Mitch. New quarterback for the Saints is Derek Carr coming over from Las Vegas. And I think Carr is sort of...
So this is an interesting one for me.
Yeah. Because I know you've got some affinity for Carr.
I do. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he was put in really bad situations. Not saying that his situation in New Orleans is any better than it was in Las Vegas. In fact, you can argue that it was marginally worse.
I mean, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller's pretty good. Not bad.
I still want to put him in the B tier, like the lower end of the B tier, because I think he can get you there. Because we've seen it before. We've seen it done before.
But we've also seen it with Jared Goff, and the way that you argued for Goff is kind of how I feel about Carr. Like, when he's good, he could be a B tier that gets you to the playoffs. If he's just mid, he's not going to carry you into the playoffs, right? Unless the situation has been really good around him. Derek Carr hasn't really gotten anybody to exceeding levels of expectation, right?
I wish you didn't
So I
say
think
that.
For Carr, he is that C tier. He's right there with Goff. You know, he can lead you to the playoffs. He could be good enough for that, but he's not talented enough to just get you there without a really good situation around him.
Okay. Last time I'm compromising without debate. Without debate, last time I'm compromising.
We gotta
I know we got a lot to go. We got a lot to go, but you know, that's
C
it.
tier for Derek Carr. C for Carr. That's good. Mitch, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is an interesting one. So we're actually going to include 2 quarterbacks into this because we don't know. We don't even know who's going to be starting week 1, let alone who's going to start the majority of the games for the Bucs this year. You've got Kyle Trask, the former 2nd round pick out of Florida, who is going to get an opportunity, but the Bucs also brought in Baker Mayfield to potentially, be the starter if Trask isn't that guy. Either way, this is a horrible plan. We ripped them on our way too early predictions last podcast for the plan that Tampa Bay has pulled out at the quarterback position this year. As far as tier ranking these guys, let's start with Trask, Mitch.
It's unfair to put him in the F. It's unfair to put him in the F because we don't know. We don't know. We haven't seen him play a snap yet. So, I guess that's an easy one for me. Baker, on the other hand, I want to put him in the C. And it's because we've seen him lead teams to playoffs before.
We've seen him do it. He did it once.
Dallen, he's only been around for 4 years, 5 years. That's all he's been. And they were building a team around him at the time. They were building the team around him at the time. So he finally gets the winning opportunity They lose a close game, right? They could have been in the AFC Championship game at that point because I think that was a divisional round game. So to put him down, I know where you want to put him. You want to put him in the F.
And it's not because I hate Baker.
That's exactly where to put him.
Well, there's no real D tier because our D tier is TBD, right? Like in reality, he is a D tier quarterback, right? He's below the C guys. He's a tier below Goff and Carr, but he's not bottom of the barrel NFL. But in this exercise, we don't have to be mean about it. In this exercise, he is F tier because he's not the same tier as Carr and Goff. He's not as talented as those guys. He hasn't proven that. And honestly, Tampa Bay throwing him out there is egregious.
Just many playoffs as Derek Carr has.
That he has. So is a playoff berth an automatic to get you in the C tier? Is that
he was almost the AFC Championship game?
Because Justin Fields hasn't made a playoffs, but it's like we gotta, the qualifications will be different. Listen, I'm not super big on this thing, but if we're not putting Baker in the F tier, then I don't know who we're putting in the F tier.
Fine,
I don't think we're going to have a single person in the F tier.
Put him in the F tier then. Put him in the F tier.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't mean this mean, Baker. Carolina Panthers legend.
I feel Baker Mayfield. I feel like you're heavy on him. You're
feeling confident with him in Tampa next year? Because I'm just.
I never said I felt confident in him. All I said was he has put together the same resume as Derek Carr has in a less amount of time, and you want to grade him 2 tiers lower. Well,
Derek Carr's been a pro. Did Baker make a Pro Bowl? I don't think he made a Pro Bowl.
I think he made one.
He did not.
Okay.
I just checked because I was feel like he could have that 1 year. Derek Carr has been to 4 Pro Bowls. I think that's a little different, I think Carr's proven over the course of his career.
But we're not talking about Pro Bowls. We're talking about playoff appearances.
I'm talking about the quality of the player, right? We're tiering them. All those things matter, not just playoffs, but
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is that it for the NFC South? We got everybody?
Yeah,
we got
everybody.
So.
Yeah.
All right, Mitch. NFC East. Let's start with Jalen Hurts. Now, Hurts is going to be a fun one. Because obviously the answer is will have changed very differently from last year, right? If you asked us last year, he might have been a TBD, we don't really know. He could have been C tier, could have been F tier, depending on how you looked at him. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs, but now he takes him to the Super Bowl. He's an MVP candidate. What are we thinking? I'd love to hear your thoughts first.
Okay. I want to put him in the S tier.
Okay.
I really do. I have an affinity for Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I do.
Yes.
Tell me why I shouldn't, though.
Because there's only one person that belongs in the S tier. Because there's one clear best quarterback in this league, and then there's a gap.
Patrick Mahomes.
Of course. But we'll get to them when we get to them.
Just take him out now.
But I can Hurts, yes, it was 1 year, but if we're just saying going into next year, I'm cool with putting him in the elite QB in that A tier. Absolutely. I think he's going to be in that top 5-ish conversation for quarterbacks in this league. That's, A tier for me. So.
See, and so he does so much what Pat doesn't do with the legs. He does so much what Pat doesn't do with the legs. He is able to create a brand new style. He's able to create a brand new run game outside of the running back position with his legs. He's able to use his arm still almost as efficiently as Patrick Mahomes does. In fact, Patrick Mahomes throws a large amount of interceptions. He's not the most efficient passer in the world when you look at his numbers. Jalen Hurts does things in a more efficient way with his arms, does what he can with his legs that Pat Mahomes can't do with his legs. That's why I want to put him in the GOAT tier.
Yeah, and I understand all that based on last year, but it was just 1 year that we've seen from Jalen Hurts. One really good year, but 1 year of that level of play. And Patrick Mahomes has been Patrick Mahomes since the minute he started games 4 years ago. So I think just comparing them is just, I think it's hard to put Hurts all the way up there after 1 year.
I don't know. Okay, fine. Put him in the A tier. Put him in the A tier.
I don't think that's disrespectful to Hurts at all to put him in the A tier.
No, but I'm not on board with that. I feel like
you think Jalen Hurts, Mitch, after 1 season of MVP level play is good enough to be considered with Patrick Mahomes as the best quarterbacks in this league?
I would take Jalen Hurts over Lamar Jackson.
Okay, well, I didn't ask you about Lamar Jackson. I asked you about Patrick Mahomes.
No, but I feel like you would put Lamar Jackson closer to the conversation of Patrick Mahomes.
I'm not talking about Lamar Jackson at all, Mitch. I asked you about Patrick Mahomes.
You're not listening. You're not listening to me. You would put Lamar Jackson closer to the conversation of Patrick Mahomes than you would Jalen Hurts, right?
I don't know. I thought the conversation is if he's a S tier, if Hurts is an S tier quarterback like Mahomes. We haven't got to Lamar yet.
Okay.
He's not Mahomes. I don't think anyone, I mean, maybe Allen,
maybe I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but I feel like we got that one wrong, but that's all good.
Okay, we shall see. All right, Mitch, Dak Prescott up next for the Cowboys. Feel like Dak is like high-end B tier. I think he could at times be an elite quarterback, right? I think like he could maybe put it together for a period, but I think Dak is like a solid to high tier B quarterback. Going to get you to the playoffs every year. You know what you're going to get from him, but he just is never going to be consistently an elite guy.
No, he's not. I mean, the turnover concerns are really bad with Dak Prescott. So I would definitely put him in that B tier. I don't think he's as good as Jalen Hurts. I don't think he's in that tier. But you know, he's definitely a guy that can get you to the playoffs. He can get you to a title game, get you to a conference title game, absolutely. But I don't think he's a Super Bowl winning caliber, type of quarterback.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'd say like to be in the elite in the A or S tier, like you got to be a Super Bowl winning caliber quarterback, right? Like a guy that can either take your team to a Super Bowl or win one. I think that's a fair, sort of qualification there. So yeah, I'm with you. Dak B tier. Mitch, Daniel Jones, quarterback for the New York Giants. Another interesting one because again, if you asked us before last season, it would have been a very different answer. But Brian Daboll comes to New York and Daniel Jones finally puts together the promising season we were hoping. It wasn't. We can pump the brakes a little bit on it. It's not like he was like a Pro Bowl quarterback or like he threw for 15 touchdowns and 5 picks. Like it's not like they asked him to do that much. He contributed on the ground with his legs. He was good. But this is still like a lot to be, we still need to see more from Jones. I think he's a C tier to me. He feels like C tier to me. I think he's proven enough to be a C tier guy. I don't think he's proven enough to be he's going to get you to the playoffs every year guy. I think we need to see more from him.
I'm almost tempted to put him in the D tier because he's one of those guys who's a late bloomer. We want to see what he actually can do. And so I'm kind of on that C to D range, but I feel like C is probably going to be the most fitting spot for him as well. So
yeah, I get what you're saying because it feels like there's still more to be seen from him, right?
Yeah.
But he has played 54 games already, and it's like so he has a lot of snaps, but there's still a lot to be had from Jones. I don't think we've seen it all, and we'll see if another repeat or an improvement on next season, and maybe he moves up a tier, right?
Right.
All right, Washington, Mitch. And Washington, the Commanders are throwing out Sam Howell this year. UNC quarterback. I think he was their 5th or 6th round selection last year. And they are coming into the season with Howell and Jacoby Brissett to I guess kind of compete or be the backup. But they seem confident in giving Howell the job. Played in 1 game last year. That was it. So he's got to be a TBD, right?
Yeah, he's got to be D tier. Yep.
Yeah.
That was easy. Yeah. I mean, he's D tier.
Yeah, 1 game of tape. That's all we got,
No one knows what he's got.
NFC West, last of the NFC here, Mitch, and let's start with the Seahawks. Geno Smith. Geno, breakout season last year, comeback player of the year in the NFL, Pro Bowl quarterback, leading the Seahawks to the playoffs with 30 passing touchdowns. Finally puts it together after, getting selected in the early second years ago, almost a decade ago. All right, after this 1 year, are we ready to put him in the B tier? Is he a C tier? What are we thinking?
Yeah, B tier. He can get you to the playoffs. He definitely can. I mean, all it takes is 1 year of what he just put up to prove that he can do it, because it wasn't like the Seahawks defense was blowing anyone out of the water. He was keeping a lot of what he was keeping that offense alive with his play. It wasn't like the running game was was absolutely dominating anything. He was keeping that offense alive with his play. So, yeah, absolutely. He can get you to a playoff game. I'm going to put him in the B team.
I think I'll agree with you here. I think I'll go B tier. I think when I look at the guys in the C tier, I would feel more confident with Geno over Derek Carr, over Jared Goff, over Daniel Jones, over those types of guys. So I think like low B tier. Yeah, I think Geno, he proved it last year. I'm down with that. Love that.
Yeah.
Mitch, Los Angeles Rams, Matt Stafford, they win the Super Bowl. They have a huge step back last year. Coming into this year, there was health concerns last year. He is older, but obviously, we saw in that playoff run and in that Super Bowl win how special he can be. I know last year was bad and we might want to write him off. I do think Stafford is still a B tier quarterback. I think if he's playing and healthy, he is good enough to get you to the playoffs. I think he proved that in all those years in Detroit. He just was never surrounded by a team and an organization that could, actually help him do that. And then goes to LA and obviously wins a Super Bowl. So for me, he's like that Geno Smith B tier. He's good enough to get you to the playoffs. I don't know if we're going to get another Super Bowl run out of him, like that elite kind of play that we saw out of him in that run, but I'd still say he's low end B tier.
Yeah, he's B tier. Matthew Stafford is going to be our modern day Dan Fouts. Great quarterback, all the numbers in the world. I mean, Stafford has the Super Bowl victory over Fouts, but shows that he can be a fantastic quarterback. Just can't quite get you all the way there. And so I think that Stafford fitting in that B tier is a perfect spot for him.
Yeah, I like it. All right, Mitch, Kyler Murray up next. When he isn't playing Call of Duty, he does play quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. Things are down in Arizona right now, obviously, but this is a hard one because Kyler is obviously uber talented. He's been a Pro Bowler before. He was, when they were in that hot streak a few years ago, he was an MVP candidate. He's shown some flashes in his career. He's former number 1 overall pick, clearly has a lot of talent. This organization has failed around him. The Cliff Kingsbury experiment failed. But where does that leave us with Kyler? Is he a C tier? Is he a B tier? Where do you sit on this?
He is somewhere in between B and D for me.
Yeah.
Because I know that he can get a team to the playoffs, but I also am not totally sure that he could. Like it's a weird situation with Kyler Murray. I know that sounds funny.
It
but
did,
but it's dependent on his dedication, what he's willing to put into his effort and the team that he has around him. And that's been in question over the last year and a half. So I feel like C is the perfect fit for him because we know he has all the talent in the world to do it. But is he willing to do it at the same time? So I'm putting Kyler in the C tier.
Okay. I will concede on C tier here. I would lean more B tier because, besides last year's, he was kind of banged up, only played 11 games last year, but besides last year's real debacle in his rookie season, those next 2 seasons, he was good. He led the team to the playoffs, made 2 Pro Bowls. He himself played well. The team didn't meet its expectations and succeed the way it needed to. I think that's more on the team than it is him in this case. But I'm okay with C tier because, again, there's obviously still a lot unproven with him, despite what we have seen.
He was good when the team was good. Okay, when the team was falling back behind, he fell apart. I mean, this guy just he was not able to step up when the team was falling apart. And so that's where I kind of fall with, Kyler in the C tier for me. So,
yeah, fair enough. All right, Mitch, the Niners, we have 2 quarterbacks in here for the Niners as well, like we did for the Bucs, because yes, like Purdy is the guy. He was the guy. He is injured, and he's not going to be the week 1 starter. Maybe it's Sam Darnold, but it's likely going to be Trey Lance, the former, 3rd overall pick a few years ago. So both these guys have to be in this conversation. We don't really know who's going to play the most. I think Trey Lance is squarely in the TBD still. Yeah. Just because, again, we have seen so little from him.
I have no idea.
And I think with Brock Purdy, I think he has to be C. I don't think we've seen enough to say he can. He played 4 games. I don't think we can say with full confidence he can get you to the playoffs over the course of a season. I just don't think we can.
Oh, I thought you were overrating him.
Really? You think he should be F tier or TBD, I guess? Still.
Because the quarterback situation is so up in the air in San Francisco. Yeah. I love what I saw out of Brock Purdy. I love what I saw out of him. I mean, this guy he seems to have all the things that equate to a winning quarterback at the NFL level. But again, just like Trey Lance, how you just made the same argument, small sample size. So like, I have a hard time putting him in the C. I think I have to put him in the TBD D range. So
I thought you were going to argue with me to have him higher. So I was trying to.
So
that's good with me because I'm with you.
I love Brock Purdy. I think he's been fantastic, but
we saw 6 games total.
We have to see more. We have to see more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I am with you there. I'm glad you're the logical one. Purdy in the D tier, TBD. And we'll jump to.
How about that for a change? I'm the logical one. How about that?
We're switching roles here. Mitch, time to jump to the AFC, and let's start in the AFC North with Joe Shiesty himself, the Tiger King, Joe Burrow, A tier, elite quarterback. Quarterback, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have much to say. Like that.
I know because
so
you're holding your tongue because I think you want more people in the S tier than I do. I think it really is only one person deserving to be in this S tier. And I know that there's a lot of other really good quarterbacks in this league, but I do think that there is a gap. And I don't think it's disrespectful to any of these guys to put them in the elite quarterback tier below that,
No, but okay. We'll get into that later. Let's just keep moving.
Okay. So Joe Burrow, A tier. We'll go to Kenny Pickett, quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who as a rookie last year had a pretty good rookie season. I think a surprisingly good rookie season. Obviously, they had a winning record, and especially down the second half of the season, he had the rookie season that you wanted. That's exactly what you wanted to see, right? Progress. Second half of the season, he's getting more comfortable. He's showing some progress. He's moving forward. He's so handicapped by that Matt Canada offense for Pittsburgh. I think there's just so much that we will continue to see from him.
Yeah.
I know he's a 1-year starter. I'm okay with throwing him in the C tier. But if we want to throw him in TBD because there's still, a lot of unknown, I'm cool with that as well. But I think with the season that we saw from him, I'm comfortable putting him in the C tier.
I would say C or D. C or D. There really is so much unknown. Like they relied so heavily on the run game and kind of limiting what he did through the air. But he had an impressive second half. So, C. C seems right. C seems right.
All right. We'll go C tier for Kenny Pickett. Mitch, up next, Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Listen, I think you could debate between the B and the A tier. He's obviously a quarterback that could get you to the playoffs. He's won an MVP. He's been the best in the league at his height. I think personally he's an elite quarterback. I think he's in that, conversation of that next grouping. He's ahead of the Daks, the Staffords, the Genos, the Kirk Cousins in my mind. I wouldn't put him above Burrow or Hurts, or maybe some of the other quarterbacks will end up in the A tier, but I think he should be in that tier in my opinion. But I know that you feel differently about Lamar, so if we want to throw him in the B, I would be okay with that.
No, I don't feel differently about Lamar. He should be an elite quarterback. The only reason I felt differently about Lamar in the past years is how they've used him in the run game. That's the only reason I felt differently about him, is that you can't win championships with Lamar throwing the ball 40 times a game and running the ball 20 times a game. That's the only difference that I felt about Lamar. So
I just meant that you felt differently than me, because I know that, we feel a little. I'm not saying you feel completely different.
No, Lamar's elite. Lamar's elite. Lamar's elite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you were bringing him up earlier. I was confused about why you were bringing him up earlier then.
What was I bringing him up?
When we were talking about Jalen Hurts.
Because I thought that Jalen Hurts was above Lamar Jackson and that he should be in that S tier. That's what I meant.
Right. Okay.
But we have him in the same tier now, so it doesn't matter anymore. So that's where I felt the difference was, is that like Jalen Hurts is kind of like Lamar Jackson 2.0, because Jalen Hurts throws the ball better, in my opinion, than Lamar Jackson. But I have no problem I have no problem with them being in the same tier. I have no problem.
Okay. Last quarterback in the AFC North, Deshaun Watson. The Watson thing was interesting when he came back after the suspension last year. Obviously, I think we both anticipated that it would go a little better for him in those 6 games. It went 3-3, and he honestly just looked like okay. But I mean, this guy's a 3-time Pro Bowler. When he was in Houston, I mean, he proved he was arguably an A tier quarterback, in that run that he was having. I think right now he's a B tier. He had 6 games in Cleveland last year after playing 0 games the year before in Houston. We just haven't seen him play very much at all the last couple seasons. But talent wise, I think he's a B tier quarterback. When he plays, he's good enough to get you to the playoffs. There's still just a lot of unknown, because again, 6 years with 6 games with the Browns last year, and then didn't play at all in 2021. When he played in 2022, he led the league with 4,800 passing yards. So, I mean,
like you said, B tier, but over the last few years, there's a lot of unknown. I have to put him in the D tier for me. That's where I feel most
D tier.
Yeah. Just there's too much to be unknown after the scandal stuff, if he's going to be able to rebound and become the quarterback that he once was before all that stuff. There's just too many question marks. There's too many question marks for me. And what we saw out of the play out of him in Cleveland was not good. I mean, it wasn't great at all. It certainly wasn't B tier quality. So, I feel like there's a very definite question on, can Deshaun Watson rebound in Cleveland with the big contract after all the stuff that he's been through, and leaving Houston.
So where do you think we should put him then?
I feel like D is appropriate.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying, because obviously there's questions. I mean, a lot of these guys could have questions coming into the season, but I just don't think there's a question about how talented he is. Like at the base level,
his talent. I'm not questioning his talent.
Right. I'm not saying you are. What I'm saying is that at the base level, he's a C tier quarterback, right? Like if he never becomes what he was in Houston again, but plays 5 years in Cleveland, he's going to be a C tier quarterback at the worst. Right. So that's where I feel like with D, I don't know. Like I get that there's questions, but there's not questions in the same way that like we have questions about what Bryce Young or Desmond Ridder or Jordan Love will be,
See, and maybe I'm just a little bit behind you with like, I was still questioning the kind of quarterback that he was when he was in Houston, like what he was in Houston. Like he had all the big weapons, and he had all the opportunities to him. We didn't get to see him in kind of situations where he was tested. Now we're seeing
they made the playoffs multiple times. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler. You know, he had some run. I mean, they didn't have success in the playoffs, but
he had all the weapons.
They beat the Bills the once. You know, they had that game against the Chiefs, the Mahomes comeback against the Chiefs. But
I mean, I'll compromise on C.
Okay, let's throw him in the C tier. That feels good.
Yeah.
All right, Mitch, let's jump over to the AFC South, and let's start with T-Law, Trevor Lawrence. Breakout season for the guy, and this is one that I'm going to cape for. I think Trevor Lawrence should be in the A tier. I think he proved enough to me last year that he should be in that bottom level of the elite quarterback tier.
Nope. He can get you to the playoffs. Not enough resume. I mean, we want to keep guys like Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford out of the A tier with a bigger resume than Trevor Lawrence. We want to see one good year out of Trevor Lawrence, and we want to put him in the A tier. Not going to happen for me.
I mean, we saw one good year from Jalen Hurts, and we put him in the A tier.
Well, no, Jalen Hurts.
We saw no good years from Justin Fields, and we put him in the C tier. So,
Well, Jalen Hurts is a completely different situation. Trevor Lawrence is great. He can get you to the playoffs. We still have to see it, though.
Okay, fair enough. We'll put him in the B tier. Mitch, who do we have next? What do we got? Okay, so we're gonna do one Titan quarterback. We talked about this before. You could maybe see Will Levis down there in the faces. We're just gonna throw Tannehill in this tier because I think at the end of the day, Tannehill will be the one that starts the majority of the games. But I do think we'll see Will Levis, especially if things aren't going well for Tennessee. We'll see at least 6 games of Levis at the end of the season. But we'll do this exercise for Tannehill. And I mean, he's got to be C tier. I know things weren't great last year, but he is like the C of C tiers, right? He's like in that Goff Carr mix,
Poster child for C tiers. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe a couple years you could have put him in the B, right? When Tennessee was rolling and it was like, all right, maybe he gets you to the playoffs. But yeah, Tannehill C tier. We'll see what happens with the Titans in 2023. Next up, let's go CJ Stroud, rookie quarterback for the Houston Texans. We'll throw him right there in the D tier.
Yeah.
Along with his fellow rookie for the Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson. A lot of young quarterbacks in this division, right? You've got the successor for the Titans, Will Levis, right, as a rookie, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson rookies, and Trevor Lawrence entering his 3rd season in the NFL. So much youth. You're talking about the reset of the quarterback position. AFC South is a prime example of that, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. That's like the perfect example of it. Absolutely. Perfect.
All right, let's go AFC East here. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, who won multiple MVPs. And then last year, a step back in Green Bay. Not the season you would have hoped. He's now with the New York Jets. And listen, I think honestly, if we put him anything less than the A tier, then we're just taking last year with too much of a with too much credit. The dude rattled off back-to-back MVP seasons, like the last 2 seasons before that, and then had one down year. Like, I know he's older. I know the cliff will come, but he's still freaking Aaron Rodgers. He's still an elite quarterback. So for me, I think he has to be A tier.
Oh, he has to be. Yeah, there's no question about it. A tier.
Yep. Okay. Easy. Mitch, Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills.
A tier. A tier.
Yep. Just throwing him in. Easy. Listen, if there was one other player that I think you could make an argument for the S tier, in my opinion, maybe Burrow, but probably stronger for Allen. I have my reasons why I think there should be one, and we'll talk about when we talk about Mahomes. But I think obviously A tier here. Yeah, Josh Allen. Look at this.
Allen over Hurts.
100%. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, Mitch. It's 1 year. Mitch, I love this for you and this hurt stuff, because this is what I was doing with Lamar Jackson like 2 or 3 years ago after his MVP season. And you were pushing back on me for getting all hyped on Lamar after the one good season. And Jalen Hurts just did it and didn't win an MVP. And yes, he led him to the Super Bowl. I'm not taking anything away from him, but like, kind of feels like the same thing. Kind of feels like the same thing, you know? I don't know. Who else do we have in the AFC East? We've done Rodgers. We've done Allen. Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh, boy.
Listen, I think... Go ahead.
Okay, so, like, I know the talent this guy has. This guy has so much talent in the world. I want to put him in that A tier. Got to put him in the B. Got to put him in the B.
Tua is I was going to say C tier. And I'm Tua... Because here's the thing.
You're a truther. You're a Tua truther.
Has he led them to the playoffs yet?
Well, okay, so he's been injury riddled.
Right.
Okay? He's had the injury issue.
Right. So doesn't that only like further exacerbate the argument? If he can't be healthy enough to lead you to the playoffs, then how can he be a guy that can lead you to the playoffs? I think Tua is on that cusp, but I just don't think he's proven enough for me to put him in that next tier. Like you said, he has all the talent in the world to do it. And for spurts, he has shown that he's done it. But
I think having glass bones and glass ligaments is different than having head issues. I think is where I'm at with that.
What do you mean?
I think if he was better protected, we wouldn't be talking about this. I think if the Miami Dolphins had protected Tua a little bit different, we would be talking about the injury issues with Tua. So that's where I wanted to put him in the B tier, because I think he has that talent.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. But Kyler Murray is in the C tier, and Kyler Murray has proven more and played at a higher level for spurts of his career than Tua has. And
Kyler Murray's a different
to the playoffs.
He's a different athlete than Tua, though. He's a different athlete than Tua.
Of course. But I just don't think we can put Tua in that B tier range with all those guys that have actually been to the playoffs and done something, and even won games in the playoffs, you know?
Okay. All right. I don't get it. I think Tua has been given. I think he's been dealt a bad hand, essentially throughout his career. But
right,
that's just me. But
okay, we'll throw him in the B tier.
Okay,
Tua can get you to the playoffs. Last AFC East, who do we got? Mac Jones, McCorkle Jones. Great rookie year. Step back last year, had 2 offensive coordinators, neither of which was qualified to be an offensive coordinator. Yes, he led the Patriots to the playoffs once, but Mac Jones is a C-tier quarterback, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, he's mid. He's not going to get you anywhere other than 8 and 9, 10 and 7, maybe at the best. I mean, that's the kind of quarterback that he is right now. So,
yeah,
and I don't see him getting any better than that. I mean, I love my Alabama quarterbacks, but Mac Jones is not that guy. He's not that guy.
All righty, Mitch. Last division, AFC West, and let's start with Russ. Russell Wilson. Obviously, absolute debacle in Denver last season. Now he's got Sean Payton. Second year with the new organization. How's the adjustment? What does it look like? Listen, talent-wise, at his best, he was an A tier. At his worst, he was really bad last year. I kind of feel like a similar way with Stafford, where last year was definitely a step back and not encouraging for the future, and he's on the wrong side of 30 and all that, but guy's still got the talent to take you to the playoffs at the worst, as long as the situation isn't god-awful around him and, he's got a real head coach. So I kind of feel like Russ should probably be in that B tier.
That's exactly where I was feeling him at. He can get you a playoff. But God, it was such a big step back for Russ that there's gonna have to be a big change for him to make that next step, that step back forward into that elite quarterback conversation. So I feel like B is kind of the perfect spot for Russ.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, Mitch, Jimmy Garoppolo, the new starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. And Jimmy is one of those classic C tiers, right? I mean, he's the Jared Goffs, he's the ones you think about.
Yeah, no question.
Yes, at his best, he's that Kirk Cousins can get you to the playoffs, right? At his best. But more often than not, it's like the situation has to be absolutely perfect around him. And even then, his team is having him attempt 6 passes in an NFC Championship game.
Look, the one time we've seen him in a Super Bowl, he had an elite defense, and now he's going to Las Vegas where he has one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell he gets that done. No way.
No. Nope.
C at best.
Nope. Mitch, Justin Herbert.
Oh, he's a
breakout. Listen, I think Herbert's a B tier. I think after last year, people wanted to throw him up in the A tier and call him an elite. And I think a lot of that is still projection. He's got a ton of talent, but he hasn't put it together in winning ways and meaningful ways for us to I think, really elevate him in that sense. I think you could say he's at the top of the B tier, that next in line, right, to get up to the A tier potentially. But he definitely is going to get you to the playoffs. He's uber talented, but still more to be had from him, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely more to be had from Justin Herbert. So I feel like he's kind of in the right range with the Dak Prescotts, the Matt Staffords, the Trevor Lawrences in that B tier range. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, and then finally, Mitch, last, certainly not least, Patrick Mahomes up at the S tier. And listen, I think Patrick Mahomes proved last season that he is in a tier of his own. I think after the season before, after he lost in the AFC Championship game to Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow got to the Super Bowl, and everyone wanted to hype up Josh Allen, and we all believed that the Bills in 2022 were going to be that team. We started to have, there was so much of, is it Allen and Mahomes? Is Burrow in this conversation? It's not just Mahomes up there. He's really, really good, but look at all these other guys are also really, really good. And those guys are still really, really good, but Mahomes is the guy. He is the pinnacle. He is the top. He proved it last year. They win a Super Bowl. And a year after they traded away their best offensive weapon and were supposed to take a step back, seemingly, he does not. He wins another MVP, his second of his career, and wins the Super Bowl. I think Mahomes proved last year that he is in a tier in his own. And, I'm not saying the gap is huge between him and Allen and him and Burrow or Hurts or Rodgers or anybody else for that matter, but he is clearly in a tier above his own. And until one of these other guys, Mitch, until one of these young guys like Allen, like Burrow, like Hurts, like Lamar, or anybody else who wants to challenge for this, unless one of them wins a ring, they cannot be in the same tier of Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. Unless one of them proves that they can be good enough to win that Super Bowl and put it all together and be at the top of this league, you can't put him in the same tier as Mahomes. That's how I feel right now. So that's why I felt like he had to be up there at the S tier all by his lonesome.
Well, I guess it's a good thing I chose Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl this year. So
he can be there. So we can talk about him up there. Absolutely.
No one circles the wagons quite like the Buffalo Bills. Let's go, Josh Allen. So, yeah, no, I get it. He's got the numbers. He got the accolades. He does all the right things, right? He's the highlight maker. He's got the numbers. He doesn't make the mistakes that a lot of those quarterbacks do. Other quarterbacks do. But, you look at those guys in the A tier, and I'll tell you what, they're not that far off of Pat Mahomes.
Of course not.
Not that far off whatsoever. If we're going to put him in the tier below, not that far off. Pat Mahomes is holding on to that S tier by a slim margin, I guess, in my book. But
fair enough. All righty, that is our tier ranking of all 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL next season. Sans a couple potential, differences here and there if guys start, but and a couple extras to cover our bases on Tampa and San Francisco. But there you go. I feel pretty good about that tier list, Mitch.
Yes.
pretty much everyone in good spots.
And I feel like we knew that we were going to have a lot of people kind of in the middle tiers.
Oh yeah.
Like we were going to have very few people towards the top or the bottom, and then at the very tippy tops and the tippy bottoms, we were going to have those one or two people. So felt like a good list for us. So
poor Baker at the bottom there.
Poor
Hate
Baker.
to see it for the man.
Poor Baker.
Somebody had to to take up a residency in that tier though. So I mean, appreciate him for being willing to take the spot.
I guess so. Yeah.
He didn't have a choice. Yeah. There you go. That's our tier list. Thanks. If you're watching live, you get to see this on the screen. That's awesome. If you're listening to the podcast, jump on the YouTube at youtube.com/the sports hour, guys, so that you can check out the tier list itself, the visual of it, where we had everybody as you were listening along. So